chosen ones. Listen closely, for the universe is moving from subtle whispers to direct, high-decibel communication.
We are approaching the Mercury Cazimi, a cosmic checkpoint where the messenger enters the solar core to deliver a directive that can no longer be ignored.
This is not a routine planetary movement. It is an interruption, a moment where the sky forces a pause in your current trajectory to ensure you recognize exactly where you stand. The universe has identified a shift in your sector. A chapter is loosening, a future is being rearranged, and this alignment is the mandatory clarity required before the physical movement begins. The sun is currently acting as a strategic incinerator, burning away the mental fog that has kept you circling the same realizations for far too long. The message today will not arrive with theatrical fanfare. It will manifest as something simple, obvious, and unmistakably right. It will feel like relief, the sensation of finally facing a truth you have spent months avoiding. Mercury in the solar heart does not generate random thoughts. It provides the primary thought, the one that changes the entire architecture of your reality once you stop arguing with it. This is a diagnostic strike. Expect sudden, piercing understanding regarding relationship dynamics, outgrown habits, or a specific decision that has been pending since the start of the year. The greatest threat to your evolution today is not missing the signal, but dismissing it as overthinking. The unawakened will receive this clarity and immediately attempt to smother it. They will retreat into the safety of the known, or let fear convince them that the realization is a mere hallucination. Do not fall into the trap of the standard human loop. Pay attention to the thought that feels like a weight being lifted. That is the data you are meant to capture. Stop negotiating with the facts. The power of the Cazimi lies in its absolute precision. It is showing you the exit from your current labyrinth. When the realization appears, do not run back to comfort. Comfort is the graveyard of the chosen. The sun is preparing to illuminate the one realization you have been avoiding. Today is the day the chapter officially turns. The clarity you receive is the universe's way of authorizing your next major pivot. The question is no longer, when will I know, but am I brave enough to act on what I now see? The fog is burning away. The transmitter is active. Your directive is incoming. Chosen ones, lean in and listen with the ears of your spirit. Clarity does not whisper. The truth has been shouting at you for lifetimes. You have simply been trained by the matrix to ignore the parts of you that speak it. While the unawakened are waiting for spiritual insight to arrive in the traditional ways, through forced meditation, elaborate rituals, or deep, agonizing reflection, they are looking in the wrong direction. Mercury does not work in the shadows. Mercury is the master of the mundane, the ruler of the exchange, the governor of the accidental encounter. And today, your breakthrough is not coming from a mountaintop. It is coming through the path of least resistance. When Mercury steps into the heart of the sun, the Cazimi, the ordinary is weaponized by the extraordinary. The universe doesn't need to send a thunderbolt when it can simply send perfect timing. The message you have been dying to receive is currently being loaded into a forgettably small vessel. It might be a random comment from a stranger in passing that shatters your internal deadlock. A single lyric from a song that plays at the exact microsecond your mind drifts to your deepest fear. A short, casual conversation that reframes a year of struggle in 5 seconds. These are not coincidences. These are orchestrated dot connections. You might be scrolling, commuting, or simply minding your own business when it happens. The click. A truth becomes unmistakable. A thought becomes undeniable. Your entire perspective flips in a heartbeat. Today, the universe isn't sending you a sign to interpret. It is sending you the right moment. When it finds you, it won't feel random. It will feel like the one thing you didn't realize you were waiting to hear. The light is being turned on in a room you've been sitting in for years.
The frequency is active.
Like this transmission right now to signal to the divine messenger that you are open to the ordinary breakthrough. Subscribe and turn on the bell. In the 24 hours of Cazimi, the timing is surgical. This channel is your synchronization point. In the comments below, type, "I am listening," to prime your awareness for today's message. If this channel has helped you decode the accidents of your life, you can support me with a cup of coffee, because every seed you release becomes a river that reaches souls you may never meet. The donation link is waiting for you in the description, pinned in the comments, and shown as a QR code in this video. Your support is a powerful energetic signature confirming your seat on the path of clarity. Stop hunting for prophecies in the clouds. Watch the people. Listen to the wind. Pay attention to the accidents. The message is already in transit, chosen one. Don't miss the delivery. As Mercury glides into this razor-sharp, incandescent alignment with the Sun, you might start to detect subtle, peculiar vibrations in both your psyche and your physical being. These aren't seismic shifts or dramatic alarms. Rather, they are the kind of ephemeral glitches that make you stop dead in your tracks for a heartbeat, wondering if you misheard the world. You might find a familiar name suddenly evaporating from your tongue mid-sentence, or find yourself staring at your empty palm, wondering where the keys went that you were clutching just 60 seconds ago. You might catch yourself making tiny, uncharacteristic blunders that feel like someone else is operating your hands. It isn't a sign of impending chaos or a breakdown of your personal order. It is simply the cognitive hardware of the brain straining to keep pace with a massive surge of internal data and movement. During this sacred Mercury Cazimi, the mental landscape becomes hypersensitized. It is as if the sun's blinding spotlight has been turned inward, magnifying every stray thought into a resonant, demanding frequency that refuses to be ignored. Even if you aren't consciously aware of it, a profound subterranean labor is occurring beneath the surface of your daily life. Your mind is frantically sorting through an overflowing desk of mental files, deciding what still holds value, what has become obsolete, what needs to be released into the wind, and what finally deserves to be brought into the light of day. This intense internal housekeeping manifests as a temporary haze of mental clutter, a gentle tension that feels like standing on the precipice of a profound realization you can't quite name yet. This isn't the fog of confusion. It is the electric hum of anticipation. Something vital is coalescing in the dark, a crystalline clarity assembling itself piece by piece in the background of your soul. The brain is doing the heavy lifting required for that realization to finally break through into your waking mind. These minor glitches are actually auspicious omens, signaling that something deeply meaningful is on the verge of becoming undeniable. It is that specific, breathless feeling right before a breakthrough, where the mind is reconfiguring your entire inner geography so the coming message can land with absolute, undistorted precision. These quirks will vanish the moment the final puzzle piece locks into place, revealing the very thought you have perhaps been avoiding or overlooking for the longest time. Today's alignment is designed to bring that exact kind of elusive thought into sharp, unavoidable focus. And the second it clicks, the fractured pieces of your life that felt scattered will suddenly make perfect, harmonious sense. One of the most hauntingly beautiful and unusual aspects of this alignment is how it dances with the ethereal, oceanic energy of Pisces. Pisces does not dredge up the past at random. It acts with a divine, intuitive purpose. In the coming hours, you may find yourself unexpectedly submerged in a tide of old conversations, overlooked glances, decisions made in the distant shadows of your history, or tiny details that seemed utterly trivial until this very moment. These fragments of memory aren't returning to haunt or punish you like ghosts. They are returning as teachers, bearing gifts of wisdom that were previously hidden by the passage of time. Pisces governs the deepest, most subterranean layers of the human experience, the symbolic, the emotional, and the intuitive. Those regions where things rarely make sense until a specific catalyst ignites them. This Mercury alignment provides that spark, casting a brilliant, purifying light onto your history, revealing a depth of meaning that was simply invisible to your younger self. You might suddenly grasp the hidden motives behind a loved one's actions from years ago, or understand why your soul felt an inexplicable magnetic pull toward or away from a certain path. It is as if your mind is revisiting unfinished business and finally closing the loops that have remained open for far too long. This isn't merely nostalgia or an emotional overflow. It is a celestial transmission. The universe is mining your past to forge the necessary key for your future. The clarity you've been desperately hunting for is likely hiding in plain sight, tucked within a memory you weren't yet equipped to fully decipher at the time. Under the soft spiritual influence of Pisces, the narrative changes. The pieces of the puzzle align in a way you never considered. What was once a confusing blur becomes a sharp revelation. What was once a minor, insignificant event now holds the weight of a monumental turning point. What once slipped your mind now becomes the missing link in your current situation. There is a profound sense of hope in this process. Realizing the truth about the past often creates the sudden, powerful momentum you need to sprint toward the future. When a situation finally makes sense, you feel lighter, more liberated, and infinitely more confident about moving forward without the anchor of hesitation. Sometimes, the universe doesn't need to give you a new message. It simply needs to show you how to read the old one you weren't ready to understand until now. Today's alignment possesses the rare power to turn stagnant memory into living meaning, and that meaning into unstoppable momentum. If this Mercury alignment were occurring in almost any other sign, the frequency of the experience would be jarringly different. In Virgo, it would feel like a cold, surgical analysis of facts and figures. In Gemini, it would be a frantic, electric pulse of witty information and fast talk. In Capricorn, it would manifest as a rigid, structural strategy for material gain. But in the sign of Pisces, the very nature of logic softens at the edges. The boundaries between the self and the collective widen, and the message shifts from cold, hard facts to profound, soul-level meaning. This is what makes today's transit so extraordinary and rare. The clarity it offers won't arrive as a bulleted list or a perfectly outlined conclusion. It arrives as an understanding, the kind of deep-seated knowing that dissolves confusion rather than just explaining it away. As the final sign of the zodiac, Pisces represents the completion of the entire cycle, the place where all things come full circle. It is the realm of intuition, symbolism, and emotional alchemy. This is an intelligence that doesn't rely on equations or logic. It relies on pure, unadulterated insight. When Mercury, the planet of thought and communication, enters the heart of the sun in this watery domain, the universe stops focusing on the how and shifts entirely into the why. You may not receive a set of detailed instructions or a step-by-step answer key to your problems. Instead, the alignment reveals the much bigger picture that was always there, just hidden behind the thick, suffocating layers of overthinking. This is why people often describe Piscean clarity as strange, soft, or even slightly disorienting at first, because it completely bypasses the analytical mind. You don't reason your way into this understanding, you simply wake up and realize that it finally makes sense, even if you can't immediately put the logic into words. The true power of this alignment is that it frees you from the exhausting need to rationalize every heartbeat. It gives you the sacred room to recognize meaning without having to dissect it. Not every realization is meant to be solved like a math problem on a chalkboard. Some truths only reveal themselves when you allow your mind to drift into the realm of interpretation instead of interrogation. Pisces encourages this vital shift toward surrender. It asks you to trust the part of you that knows things long before the rest of your consciousness catches up. Logic is excellent for solving problems, but intuition is the only thing that can reveal purpose. Today's clarity won't be cold or clinical. It will be warm, fluid, and deeply human. It won't feel like the act of thinking. It will feel like the act of remembering something you have always known in your bones. There is a very specific type of person who will feel the impact of this alignment with a startling intensity. Those who have been trapped in the jagged, exhausting loops of overthinking for weeks, months, or even years. If you are the type who has been replaying old conversations in your head until they lose all meaning, second-guessing every minor decision, analyzing every micro-expression in a situation, or trying to mentally predict every possible outcome like a grandmaster in a chess game, this alignment is for you. It will feel like the moment the universe finally pulls the plug on the overthinking spiral. The reason is simple. Mercury in Pisces does not reward mental circles. It seeks to dissolve them entirely. This alignment acts as a circuit breaker, interrupting the habit of constantly rehearsing scenarios and forcing the mind to approach reality from a softer, more intuitive angle. Instead of trying to solve everything, you suddenly begin to understand it. The situation you've been obsessing over will begin to lose its suffocating grip on your psyche. The internal pressure to figure every single thing out will ease. The tight, tangled knot in your thoughts will begin to loosen of its own accord. It is the moment the brain finally admits, we have gone as far as thinking can take us. Now it is time to actually see the truth. Many people will wake up today or move through their day with an uncanny, surprising sense of mental quiet. The heavy, leaden questions they've been wrestling with won't feel so burdensome. The answers they've been chasing won't feel so impossibly out of reach. And the most miraculous part is that nothing in the external physical world needs to change for this shift to occur. The mind simply stops the endless playback because it finally recognizes that the situation was never as complicated as the fear made it seem. This is the alignment breaking the cycle, not by forcing you into a difficult decision, but by showing you that you already know exactly what the right decision is. Overthinking survives on a diet of uncertainty, and today's clarity removes just enough of that shadow to make the whole structure of doubt collapse. What once felt like a tangled web suddenly looks like a straightforward path. What once felt overwhelming becomes entirely manageable. Overthinking ends the very second the truth becomes louder than the fear. For many, today marks the official end of mental exhaustion and the beautiful beginning of genuine clarity. It is the shift from spiraling to seeing. And once that shift happens, it is very difficult to ever go back to the darkness. Even those who don't follow the movements of the stars are familiar with the notorious reputation of Mercury retrograde. The miscommunications, the technical glitches, the confusion, and the delays. But what most people miss is this rare, golden moment inside the retrograde where everything lines up with perfect, crystalline clarity. The Mercury Cazimi is one of the most hopeful and potent alignments of the entire cycle because instead of amplifying the static, it cuts straight through the noise. This alignment acts as a cosmic reset point for the human mind. It is a brief, magical window where your thoughts, your intuition, your memories, and your understanding all fall into perfect alignment at the exact same time. The external noise quiets down. The overthinking slows to a crawl. The internal contradictions that have been tearing you apart begin to dissolve into a singular truth. What you are left with is a moment of mental clarity that feels almost unfairly precise compared to the chaos of the rest of the retrograde. It is the kind of moment where you suddenly understand with total conviction what you truly want, what you are officially finished with, and exactly what needs to happen next. The message that arrives today isn't here to scare you, to pressure you into a corner, or to force a painful awakening. It is here to relieve you. It is here to gently remove the heavy cloak of doubt that has been weighing you down. It is here to point toward the direction that has been calling your name, even if you couldn't fully articulate why before. The universe isn't dropping a warning. It is offering a profound reassurance, a divine confirmation, and a sense of purpose that cuts through the uncertainty you've been carrying. The real gift of this alignment isn't just the message itself, but what happens to you after you understand it. Once the truth becomes clear, the mental fog that has been following you like a shadow finally lifts. Decisions feel lighter, directions feel obvious, fear feels much smaller than it did yesterday. You are no longer guessing your way forward in the dark. You are moving with a clarity that feels earned through experience. Hope isn't found in a magic answer. It is found in finally understanding the question. Today's alignment brings precisely that kind of grounded hope. Not a blind, naive optimism, but a solid clarity that frees you, strengthens your spirit, and gently guides you toward the future that has been waiting for you to recognize it. If you have stayed with this message until this very point, move into today with an open, receptive heart and a calm spirit. Have a little faith that something good and necessary is aligning specifically for you. Hope is the quiet, unbreakable promise built into this celestial portal, and it is already on its way to your door.